Hey everyone, welcome back to the Drop Lob Pod. I'm joined by my co-host Nathan, and today we're going to get into the ATP and WTA tournaments that just finished and look ahead at the tournaments that are going on this coming week. So Nathan, I think it would be good to start with the WTA. Specifically, the ladies were playing in Doha, the WTA 1000 event. The winner was Karolina Mukova, and she took down Victoria Mboko from Canada. So I want to know what you thought of the tournament. There were some interesting storylines. Maria Sakkari taking out Iga, amongst others. So just talk to me about what you saw there, because I know you were watching it pretty closely.
Oh, I was watching it very closely. I'd like to start off by thanking you for doing our introduction, Edic. Someday you will get introductions down. You did everything great except for including your own name. So for everybody that doesn't know him, that is Edic, a former Division One tennis player at Loyola University. Beat me 6-1, 6-1 in tennis about 2 weeks ago. Discouraged me so much I haven't even touched the court since.
Ooh.
Probably the longest hiatus I've taken from tennis in about a year. Real mental beatdown. And speaking of discouragement, we're going to get right into the finals with Victoria Mboko playing against Karolina Muchova. Victoria Mboko making a huge rise in the rankings. She's knocking at the top 10. Young player from Canada. We've discussed her on the pod multiple times in the last month. Phenomenal backhand. I'd argue she's got a top three backhand on the WTA tour right now. It's lethal. It got her past Elena Rybakina once again, the hottest player of 2026. Has her 2-0 against Elena in the all-time now. Super clutch performance there by Victoria as well, down 4-3 break in the third, was also down a 5-3 break in the first. Managed to take home both of those sets to get past Elena in the quarterfinals.
Tennis.
No, that was the quarterfinals with Elena. In the semifinals, she beat Iga Swiatek's Achilles heel, Helena
Yes, you're right.
Ostapenko, pretty badly actually, 6-4, 6-1. On the other side, we had Mukova, who just dominated all tournament. It's something that honestly I think a lot of big WTA fans might expect out of her at some point. She's beaten Elena Rybakina as well, the only other player I believe to beat her here in 2026. She took Sabalenka deep at the French Open a couple years ago. Her biggest enemy is herself and her injuries. When she's healthy, she's a player that's always competitive and always live to win any tournament. She plays incredibly aggressive tennis. She's one of the best serve and volleyers on tour, something that a lot of WTA players do not really have in their bag. And when she has that first serve placement down with the pinpoint, and she can come in and really finish those points quickly, get holds, and then she plays aggressive on the return game. I compared it to, for people that watched WTA like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, Caroline Garcia had a huge shoot up the rankings because she just decided to play the most aggressive tennis that anyone has played on tour. Now, Mukova's a lot more talented than Caroline Garcia was, but it got Caroline up to number two in the world at one point and biting at
No.
chances at major.
Number four. Don't give her that much credit.
No, she was. I know she was number four, but I swear she made it to number two.
No, you.
It was number four.
Yeah, we can't give her that much credit.
She made it to number four. I'm positive of that.
Yeah,
I know that Andy Murray thought she was going to win a major. I remember that.
that's a
Um,
bold take by Andy.
Sir Andy's a bold guy. That's kind of his thing. But yeah, either way, just like I think it was just showed once again that if you can execute really aggressive serve and volley tennis and kind of stand inside the baseline on first and second serve returns and manage to make a good like percentage of them, you can really cause a lot of disruption on the WTA tour. So really impressive performance by her. Takes down Mboko in straight sets in the final. Really, her win was only in doubt in the semifinals against Maria Sakkari, a player that I had predicted her fall off last year. She was a former top 10 player, fell all the way outside of the top 70, where she was lurking this year until she absolutely owned Iga Swiatek in the quarterfinals of this tournament, down a set to Iga, who is 108-0 and WTA 1000 tournaments in which she had won the first set. Um, and she lost. She was up two break points at 4-4 in the second set. I was watching the match. I turned it off. I was like, it's over. Sakkari's so mentally weak, and Iga is Iga. She doesn't break. Sakkari takes that set down, goes up 5-2 match point, doesn't convert, doesn't break at 5-3. Iga hits an ace down match point at 5-4 to get to 5-all. I assume it's over. And then Zachary held to love and broke her again to win 7-5. Now I will say, in my personal opinion, Iga played terribly. I watched the match. She was really nervous. She was really in her own head. She was missing a lot of neutral balls. It's kind of been a pattern more with Iga in the last year or so, and I think it's where I'm going to open up back to you in a second. Is do you think that Iga's struggles are the tour catching up to her, or do you think it's just purely mental?
I think she's always a few good performances away from another breakout tournament. Um, lately she's been going after the forehand a lot more, and I think it's just a combination of people figuring her game out, and yeah, just like some of these other players like Elena, like Coco, stepping up their level.
Ostapenko.
Yeah, yeah, Elena as well. So, ultimately, I think Iga will always be a threat to win slams, to win any tournament she enters, but the results have definitely been up or down yet. But just remember, if she wins the Australian Open or if she wins another Grand Slam in the next year or so, she's already one of the greatest of this era or these last 10 years. She will catapult herself into a new category. If she wins the Australian Open, although you don't really think of her as that dominant force that she was once, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Is that the only tournament she's missing for a career slam?
Yep, that's correct. And sorry, I just wanted to little bit of a hiatus.
Go wherever you want.
So Andre Agassi's wife, Steffi Graf, was the first person and only person ever to win the Golden Grand Slam in 1 year. So she won all four Grand Slams and the Olympics. Just a little side note, a little tidbit. So, and she finished with 22 Grand Slams, but she also retired really, really young. And that's one of the biggest what ifs in tennis. If she had continued to play longer, would she have more Grand Slams? But as Nadal said before, if doesn't exist.
And that what was that in reference to?
That was in reference to, I believe he said it in Rome when he was at the Rome tournament. Um, and it was in a press conference, and they asked him, if you had played here or played there, and he said, if it doesn't
No,
exist.
no. Okay,
I'm
for
wrong.
once I have more ball knowledge than Edic, and to be honest, I was setting him up there to get to rip into a player he's not a fan of. The
Oh, it's Nick
if
Kyrgios.
was at
If they said no,
Wimbledon.
no, no, I got it. They said if Nick Kyrgios had trained more, if he was more dedicated, he said,
There we go.
well, if doesn't exist, and that's right. And I'm
That
here to
was
tell
so
you,
hard.
this is what I'm going to tell you: hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Oh, he went for the cliche to back himself up.
And you
Yes,
want
that
another
Rafa
one?
quote.
You want another one?
He's all over the place today, boys and girls. It's going to be a good episode. Go
It's
ahead.
not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog.
That actually just physically states that you're short whenever you say that, unfortunately.
It's all about the heart, baby. It's all about
I
the
just I just read through those statements and just say what they really mean. But anyway, when the dog is large, the fight doesn't matter because the dog's just a dog. It's fine.
Oh, you
Um,
remember Alexander Dolgopolov? Speaking about dogs, Ukrainian player, or was that before you started watching tennis?
that was before my ball knowledge. You get to redeem yourself for that awful Rafa pull.
Shout out Alexander Dolgopolov, the real OG tennis hardcores know him, Ukrainian superstar.
What did he say about dogs?
No, that was just his nickname was the dog because his last name
Really?
was Dolgopolov. Yeah. Look
Oh,
him up
that's a good nickname. That's
look him up on your own time. He upset Tsonga at the Australian Open. He beat Djokovic in the first set tiebreaker and one of the longest tiebreakers ever. Um, But
Shout out to shout
this
out
all
to the
happened
longest
for the
tiebreaker
second
ever, by
round.
the way, that I'm aware of is Nerno Pelka.
Yes, you're right about
Back
that.
in Houston.
Yes,
20 if you ever want to see the longest tiebreaker, guys, it's very not exciting. It's John Isner and Riley Opelka just ripping aces back and forth at each other, having like maybe one or two service breaks, and a 24-22 second set tiebreaker to Riley Opelka and a 7-6 7-6 mess that was surely boring every single person in the entire stadium.
yes.
Not to be mixed up with the longest match of all time that I think all of our viewers that watch tennis are aware of, with Isner and Nicholas Mahut back at Wimbledon. I believe it was like 2012 or something forever ago that went 70 to 68 in the fifth set in games, not in tiebreak points.
Very good. 11 hours and 5 minutes. And don't forget,
Over 3 days. Over 3 days.
don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on notifications for the Drop Lob Pod.
Oh, Edic's been watching other podcasts. He's learning the engagement formula. Yeah, that match also took 3 days, by the way. And fun fact that I'll toss in since we're going all over the place, John Isner lost a set 6-0 in that next match for the first and only time in his career because he was so exhausted. Got
Against,
ousted in straight sets.
against
Uh-oh.
Rafael Nadal.
Do not think so, but nice try.
It,
Anyway.
it was Rafael Nadal.
It definitely was not Rafa Nadal. Someone's gonna fact check us after this. After Attic pulled out that ridiculous Cristiano Ronaldo couldn't keep up with tennis training last time. Which, by the way, I did have a fan stop me in Chipotle today to let me know they thought I was right on that argument. But that's beyond the point. What we will get to is we got to a lot about WTA Doha there, about Iga getting upset by Sakari, which once again I feel was just Iga beating herself, and Boko had a breakout tournament. Sabalenka was not present in this draw, so we're not sure how she would have done. Amanda Anisimova got injured early on in the second round against Karolina Pliskova, who's still proving to be somewhat of a threat. She came back from injury, former world
Number
number
one.
one, and
Yep.
she's definitely shown some of that talent. Um, we had Coco Gauff continuing to just absolutely struggle like crazy, getting bounced in the second round, and she had a first round bye. So in her first match by Elisabetta Cosierito, pretty emphatically bounced 6-4 6-2. Cosierito playing some solid tennis. She made the quarterfinals, lost to Helena Ostapenko, and also made it through the qualifiers in the current week here in Dubai. But still, for Coco Gauff, those expectations are sky high. I know we've discussed before that she's, in our opinion, the best defender on tour. Maybe not the best tennis player all the time, despite having two majors to her name. How concerned are you about Coco Gauff right now, with what we've seen out of her? Is there any worry that this poor performance could continue throughout the season, or do we think that finds her form at some point soon?
It's a good question, and I was completely wrong. He lost to Tiamo de Backer in just 74 minutes, and it was 6-0, 6-3, 6-2. So you are, my friend, doing quite well today.
Oh, I know I
I
am.
do not give out compliments easily, but you are upping me today. So
That's
congratulations.
okay. It's bound to happen once in a while. But anyway,
Back to
going back
Coco
to
Golf.
Coco.
That's a great question. Because she's such a dog, I think she'll be okay. She's a competitor at heart, and actually, probably sometimes because she's so tied to the outcome and because she cares so much, that's probably hurting her sometimes. I've heard before, you don't want to be careless, but sometimes you want to care, comma, less. And, you know, often
Dang. I like
Often
that.
she doesn't do that, and she'll be okay. Obviously, I'm not a big fan, but she'll be okay. I don't think she'll win a Grand Slam this year, but she's a competitor, and she'll be fine.
I agree with that take. I think that people often overreact to a short period of time. I'd like to reference Carlos Alcaraz at the beginning of last year, losing to David Goffin in Miami, taking another early loss or two. And I remember some very, very, not either of us, but some very big tennis fans I'd see on Twitter saying, and I quote, Carlos Alcaraz is washed. Um, that was preceding the greatest major win of all time, potentially at the French Open, dominance at the Australian Open after splitting with his coach, a Wimbledon finals, and multiple other titles. Uh, Obviously, Coco Gauff is not comparable to Carlos Alcaraz, but she is a huge competitor and a top player, and she will find a way to bounce back, whether people believe it or not.
Real quick, there's already some people on the WTA tour that are having the worst year of all time. One of them being Haddad Maya
Oh,
cannot,
Jesus Christ.
literally cannot win a match for her
This poor
life.
lady got killed by my girl Janice DeGen. I
I
took a
mean,
first set bagel.
she's won a qualifying match this year, but other than that,
Oh, she
terrible.
won a qualifying match, by the way,
Oh
against like an
no.
8 UTR.
Yeah, she was terrible. I don't know how she was in the draw.
I think it was one. Oh, I'm gonna up you again. I
Oh
believe it
no,
was
no, it was oh
one.
no.
No,
It
no,
was
it wasn't.
you want to bet? You want to bet?
I do.
How much?
$5.
All right. You want me to check right now?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
I'm gonna
do.
check right now. Another player who's doing terribly this year is Samsonova.
All right,
Not
I owe you $5.
yes, I know
So
you. I
anyway,
know. I know that. I know my thing. So you always Venmo me after.
I will. Uh,
Also, someone I predicted to be doing well, and she isn't doing well, is Clara Towson, is having a horrible year. Emma Navarro, horrible
Claire
year.
Towson, not
So
as horrible of a year as you would think. But Emma
Maya
Navarro,
Joint, Maya Joint couldn't
yes.
buy a match for her life.
Awful year for Maya Joint.
Awful.
I think that the players have just kind of learned that she doesn't have a serve. They're just attacking her serve so aggressively. Her hold rate is atrociously low right now. Um, yeah, Haddad Maya 6060. If anybody wanted to know how to be bad at gambling, that's about as fast as you can lose $5. If someone wants to do the hourly rate on how much money you would lose an hour in a day, losing $5 that quickly, please let us know in the comment sections. I think I'd just be eviscerating my life savings. Um, but congratulations, Eddick, back on track. And yes, all of those girls not having phenomenal years. I watched Claire Towson, by the way, since I will state for everybody that last week we did film a podcast episode with a USTA coach and Eddick's very good friend, Connor Calhoun, who we
Okay.
will be having back on the podcast in a more formal setting sometime in the coming weeks. It was a great interview. Connor actually provided some phenomenal insights into coaching styles, how he coaches, what a coach mindset is. Some really interesting stuff that we haven't seen given from that perspective yet. Unfortunately, it was filmed on Edic's phone, which was already at full capacity in terms of storage. So that when we went to post it, it was not there. So that ended up being a slight issue, just a minor setback that the video doesn't exist. But it did happen, and we will be replicating it and making sure to improve on it for you guys since we didn't have an episode last week. In the wake of that, I also had some stuff to tend to in my personal life, so it just wasn't the best time for us to get an episode out. Um, but should we, on that note, move over to the men's tournaments? There were three, none as big as the 1000 over in WTA, but we did have a 500 and a couple 250s. Um, Also, my ADD did kick in there for you guys. So my last point was that I watched Claire Towson lose to Sarah Balick, and I didn't realize that Sarah Balick is 5'2" and Towson's 6 foot. And when they went to net, it was absolutely hilarious. It looked like she was patting her daughter on the head, but she lost.
Okay. One more thing about WTA
Yeah,
because I have to bring it up. Um, Serena Williams. I don't know if you saw the news,
I
but
did not.
she is eligible to play again because she's been in the drug testing protocol. She's being drug tested. She's eligible to play. Um,
Honestly, screw our next topic. We're circling back. What do you think she could do right now? Because we've seen Venus at 45 years old beat Peyton Stearns, who's in like the top 30, draw close with some players. Obviously, one of the most talented tennis players of all time, yet still not the most talented in her tennis in her own family. Um, so what do we think Serena could do right now? Like, what do you think her ceiling is?
so the first thing I'm going to say is, which is a controversial take. Obviously, it's well known that she's on these GLP-1s and she's lost like 30 or 40 pounds. I'm not really sure how I feel about that
I don't think it would help her.
being legal. Although I would agree with you, I'm not really sure it's going to help her because one of her biggest things was power. She's
Yes.
lost weight. Now she's not going to be as muscular. Maybe the legs aren't as strong. I don't think she does well. I really don't. If you think about it, Venus, yeah, she's been competitive, but she only won the one match against Peyton Stearns. Other than that, she's been losing everything. I actually don't think Serena's going to come back and play singles. I think she'll play doubles with Venus at Indian Wells, at Miami, maybe at Wimbledon and US Open. I don't see the point. You're retired. It's done. You're 45 years old. Go live and be happy. Nobody's asking for you to come back. Nobody asked for Venus to come back. I'm not trying to
Well, I don't
see,
really think Venus
like,
ever left, technically speaking.
okay, maybe Venus didn't officially retire, but Serena, you got your farewell tour. Okay? This is
She
not
danced at the Super Bowl halftime show.
right. So what's done is done. You can't come back now. Okay?
I disagree with you on that. Nobody's asking her to come back. As someone whose cat is named Serena after Serena Williams, obviously I'm a big Serena Williams supporter.
You're a big
Um,
Serena Williams supporter that didn't even know she was eligible to play.
well, being a big Serena Williams supporter and paying attention to her drug testing eligibility are not completely synonymous. But that being said, I will agree with you real quick. We have to remember that she could not break that wall and win that final major in singles for years at the end of her career. She just needed one more to really break that threshold. I believe she ended at 24, is that correct?
I think it's 23, but I will check.
It could be 23, but I just remember that she needed one more major to break a huge milestone, and she made the finals a decent amount of times. It is 23, you're correct. We're getting back even now. Edic one-upping me a couple
Where's my
times.
$5? I need the $5 right now. Venmo me right now.
We'll get to it by the end of the podcast, I promise. But that being said, um, yeah, I just don't like she couldn't get that final major. So I agree with you. She's probably coming back from doubles. She's just too much of a competitor. I can't imagine someone as competitive as Serena. I think that for Venus, it's like for the love of the game. I think for Serena, it's about winning. And I think that if she doesn't think she has any potential of winning, she's not going to play. So I don't see her coming back for singles. I definitely think that for doubles, she could come back and play with Venus or maybe even some other players because she had played with Ons Jabeur, she had played with Leylah Fernandez when she was winding down and had some fun. Um, but yes, I do also see
Last
the
thing.
article that says
Yes,
Serena Williams nears return eligibility, no plan announced.
right. Last thing, and then we definitely get on ATP. You do not get better at a sport by not playing it. Time,
Lies.
time off, especially in such a technical, timing relevant sport like tennis, is so important. Um,
Carlos Alcaraz and Ibiza,
it's
Wimbledon
a little bit
champion.
different. We're talking about 3 years off versus a week off.
Give me the next
But at the same time,
150,
if I
give me the
could,
next 155 weeks off tennis. I'll come back stronger than I ever was.
right, I was about to say, give me the next 2 years off tennis and I'll still beat your ass 6-1, 6-1.
That's just a lie.
That's
Also,
not, never in this lifetime will you beat me. Never. It's impossible.
$1 million for you to not play tennis for the next 3 years. I don't even think you take it.
Never.
No
Never.
playing, no coaching, no watching. $1 million for the next 3 years. Early dropper lob, we'll toss it in. Dropper lob, you're taking it.
My answer is I drop it because no tennis, no life.
Ah, I love it. All right. And with that, that's how much Edic loves tennis. That's how much he loves the podcast. And that's how much he's going to love talking about ATP Rotterdam, the first of the three tennis tournaments we're going to discuss. As far as I'm aware, you can fact check me, the only 500 tournament last week, along with two ATP. Nope. ATP Dallas was also a 500. I'll catch myself right there. And then an ATP 250 in Buenos Aires. But we will start with ATP Rotterdam, probably, in my opinion, the most stacked draw of the last week. Saw the top two seeds making the finals. Alex de Minaur, Felix Auger-Aliassime. Felix, the one seed, looked phenomenal all week. Very, very dominant on indoors. Had won his previous tournament as well. Has been known to go on some very, very hot streaks on the indoor hard. Facing Alex de Minaur, who classically struggles against the big ball hitters, struggles against the very top players who are ranked above him. And he dismantled Felix 6-3, 6-2. Felix did take an MTO. He did lose his last two, which stands for medical timeout, for those that are unaware, in the second set. And he also did retire at the Australian Open to Nuno Borges, down 2 sets to 1 with medical timeout. So medical been a little bit of an issue for Felix early in this season. He was broken to love his last two service games, which for those that know Felix, he has a massive serve, and that is incredibly beyond uncharacteristic for him, even though Alex de Minaur is one of the best returners on tour. Um, but regardless of whether or not Felix was hurt, and we'll get to an ATP Dallas where we saw an injured player pull out a match because their opponent is what Coach Edick would lovingly describe as a mental midget. You do still need to win the match even when your opponent can't play at their best. And de Minaur came through in big fashion, took home another title. Um, were you impressed with what you saw from him this week? Do you think the outcome could have been any different if Felix stayed healthy in that final? And do you think that this could be maybe a turning point for Alex de Minaur, or a year where we could maybe see him rise as high as even three in the rankings behind Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz?
You got to feel good for Alex, who had lost in the final against Sinner 2 years ago and last year against Alcaraz.
Did
Um,
you see the tweets, by the way?
Yes, that was funny.
Yeah,
But
so
you just gotta feel good for him. And players like these who, it's hard to win in Grand Slams. When they win 500s like this, it's a big accomplishment for them. So I was happy to see them. I'll shout out my dad real quick for one of the worst takes of all time. He said last year that de Minaur would win a Grand Slam in the next 2 years, and I couldn't be more wrong. Like it's just not gonna happen as
yeah, I agree with
off the
that.
court.
Unfortunately, sorry,
But
Dad.
I feel good for him. And Felix is a great indoor hardcourt player. We know that. So yes, I do think the injury affected it. He'll probably be fine in the long run. And both of these guys, I like both of the guys because they're solid professionals, and for the most part, they don't really ever complain.
Yeah,
Felix,
and they're seemingly good dudes from what we can
yeah.
see outside.
So, they are solid professionals, so I like both of them. I really do.
Yeah, and for real quick reference on the tweets, 2 years ago, Alex de Minaur loses in the finals here to Jannik Sinner. He posts a tweet and says, "I don't even like you anymore," at Jannik Sinner. Loses the next year to Alcaraz, says, "I don't like you anymore either." This year he finally wins, so I guess he probably likes Felix a little bit more. To be fair, Alex de Minaur never won a match against Jannik Sinner, and I believe may have never won or has won one at most against Alcaraz. So I wouldn't really. It wasn't good fun, and I believe that he gets along with most everyone on tour, but I'm sure there's a little animosity there due to his constant ass kicking he receives at their hands. Um, but yeah, other than that, I mean, the biggest stories I'd say from Rotterdam, Daniil Medvedev out early at the hands of Ugo Humbert. Um, Kind of starting to work maybe towards a decent prediction on my end that he's going to have a rough year. Ugo Humbert gives him a lot of difficulties and is another guy that excels strongly on indoor hard courts. You have something you'd like to chime in here?
Listen, I'm not a fan of Kyrgios or Bublik or these clowns. But for me, when Medvedev crashes out, it's
Oh.
so funny. I love it. It's the funniest thing of all time. This guy is saying hilarious stuff about the balls.
Oh, he did. Please enlighten people on his crash out because, as Eric
Listen,
said, Daniil Medvedev had a full-on meltdown in this match against Humbert. He was unhappy. It's something that's been a theme with him since COVID, I believe, and it has been something that's been mentioned by Zverev and some other players that they're not a fan of the balls that the ATP Tour is using. But Medvedev was especially unhappy with the balls at this tournament and let it be known to the
so
umpire in spectacular
So,
fashion.
so he was complaining in hilarious fashion about the head balls, which I've never in my life heard that head has tennis balls. So they're probably pretty bad. And let's just say he was making some sexual innuendos about the balls, and it was just hilarious. And he was basically saying how he was going to retire the second that the second set started. He actually ended up winning the second set. And he's had some famous meltdowns in Monte Carlo last year or a couple years ago when he was saying the ball is out. And I think it's because of his accent as well that it's just hilarious when he does that.
Yes, he speaks English, but not always perfectly.
No.
And yes, he was for everybody that wants to look it up because we can't get into too much detail. Obviously, we're running a little bit slowly here, going all over the place today, but I think giving you guys hopefully a great time in the process. Please do look up Medvedev crash out ATP
Oh,
Rotterdam or
oh my
versus
God.
Humbert 2026. He did imply that he was going to have his elbow start hurting the second set started. And some, yes, other, the word would be innuendos, etic, but he was implying some of those. It was hilarious, and it's very much worth anybody's time to look that up and watch it. But Medvedev goes out of the tournament early, probably one of the other bigger storylines there. Other than that, Alexander Bublik also in the first round down a set in 5-4 to Hubie Urkacz, manages to break him back via three double faults from Hubie, win that set, win the match, and then take home a couple more rounds before getting dismantled by Felix. Bublik also had a very funny rant where he was ranting to his box saying that all Hurkacz was doing was going double fault, winner, slice, ace, double fault, and he said that his variety made him look like Novak Djokovic in comparison to Hubie. If you guys want to see that clip as well, make sure to look that up. He does it much more justice the way he said it than the way I just described it. Um, Honestly, Bublik, I'm not really sure how long his sun run here in the top 10 is going to last. Incredibly, incredibly talented player, but I have to say I was very underwhelmed by his performance this week. I'm a little bit concerned about Hubie. I don't know if you've been able to watch him at all. He started the year on fire at the United Cup coming off of injury, and he's been super underwhelming since then. Much like I asked with Coco, do you think that Hubie Hurkacz finds his game this year, or do you think he suffers a little bit of a fall off?
I could see a fall off. He's a little bit of a weird dude, isn't he?
I
Like
have no idea. I'm not going to speak
just
to that.
the voice, his voice, I don't know if you heard him talk, is a strange, he's got a strange voice. He just really serves big. I don't know what the game plan was against Bublik here. He's a better player than Bublik.
Well, he was serving for the match and he double faulted three
What is
times.
he doing? Like, what is that, dude? You're like 10 in the world.
And
You
then he also lost to Martin Dam Jr. at the previous tournament. And Martin Dam was playing incredible tennis and beating everyone, but still just a match that Hubie should obviously be winning against a player outside of the top 100. He's just not fully on his game. The indoor hard's a game that you would think would play into his favor. He's got very hard, flat ground strokes and a big serve, kind of like not quite like Felix, but like the type of player that should be succeeding on this surface. I'm a little bit concerned, but I think he just has too big of a serve to fall off too far.
yeah.
But disappointed in Hubie, disappointed in Medvedev, two guys that have been in the top 10 in years past. Impressed by Felix, impressed by Demon. Now we're actually going to flip over to the ATP 250 in Buenos Aires, where I don't really believe there's a ton to discuss because Dallas left us with a lot of great discussion topics. Buenos Aires was won by one of my favorite players, Francisco Cerundolo. He was the favorite coming into the tournament. I don't believe he dropped a set all tournament. Beat Luciano Darderi in the finals, a player that's having a phenomenal season after I predicted a large fall off. I was quite wrong there on that front. Darderi thankfully took out Sebastian Baez for now the second time this year to help me a little bit on the Baez fall off front. I'm relying on one of my players I needed to fall off to beat another player I needed to fall off, which is just disgusting
It's a
on my
comedy.
part. Just
Comedy is what it is.
not the type of take that you want to have. Once again, that was three players I predicted to have the worst 2026 seasons. But Francisco takes it down in straight sets in the final. Nothing too surprising there at all throughout the tournament. The two top seeds making it all the way, and the top seed taking it home. The altitude clay, for those that watch tennis, it's actually just crazy speaking to the variety of tennis as a game that we have these indoor tournaments like the ATP Dallas where players are holding at an astronomically high rate. The ball is coming in very flat, very low, and very fast. And then you go over to Buenos Aires where they're like all the way up in altitude, and you see like Francisco's brother Juan Manuel Cerundolo. hitting like 13 feet behind the baseline, like moonballing every play, and it's working because the altitude is so high up. Um, I am actually going to segue real quick into one thing that happened recently in our last few weeks, which was the Davis Cup qualifiers. Um, the biggest upset in the earliest rounds of that, they sent Australia into Ecuador for one of the tournament legs into altitude clay, which is like on clay courts, but like way up in the mountains where it's like high and the air is thinner. And Ecuador, whose players are significantly worse on paper, ended up beating Australia. And a lot of the Australian players commented that it's so difficult playing tennis up there, and it's basically a completely different game. Which speaks to usually how guys like Sebastian Baez will succeed and then come on to tour and not, which was kind of my backing for why I thought he'd be bad this year. But do you think that like it's good for tennis that they can have two tournaments that different in the same week and that players can pick and choose where they go? Or do you think that the season should kind of maintain more structure where all tournaments are played on the same surface at the same type of year or same time of year? And do you think that all players should be required to play on each surface throughout the season?
I think it's so great that we have different surfaces and different locations. One of my teammates in college won Skylar Gates from Colorado actually, that has altitude. The ball would fly. So he was always, just talking about the difference between training there and being in Maryland. So, all of that to say is, you got to adapt to the elements. When I was down in Florida a couple weeks ago, Connor, who should not be talking about my tennis game, okay? He should have nothing to say about my tennis game was saying, "Oh, the ball's flying. You're missing balls out that I never saw you miss." I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm playing out, outside in the north. The air is really dense right now because it's cold out, and my strings are at like 40 pounds. And then I go to Florida. I didn't have time to change the string tension, and it's at 40 pounds, and the air is thinner. Of course, the ball's gonna fly." Now he may not know that because he's not an elite level player like myself and like you, but it's so.
I don't feel like an elite level player after you just ruined my confidence last week.
Compared to Connor, you're an elite level player, and that's no shade to Connor. He's actually playing with Mark Jelena tomorrow because he needs to get training.
It's
Um,
okay. Edic gave me the Olive Garden special, which is unlimited breadsticks, 6161. That's what for anybody, if you ever lose 6161, that is called the Olive Garden special.
oh my God. So yeah, it's a great thing that they have different surfaces in different locations.
I somewhat agree with your take. I find it interesting that it's the only sport where you can really pick and choose between like a different variety of the same sport, but be able to get like the same amount of ranking points from playing what's almost a different sport completely. I do wish that there was some more regulation of some sort to kind of make all players weather all conditions to really see who the ultimate tennis player is. Obviously, that's kind of what happens with the top 100, with them having to go see a Grand Slam on all three of the surfaces. Um, I don't know how viable it will ever be to get that type of regulation amongst lower level tennis, but I would be interested to see how that works going forward. But leaving all that behind, we're going to go into the final tournament of the week and probably going to be my favorite one to talk about, the ATP 500 in Dallas. A relatively stacked draw. We had all of the top Americans. We had Taylor Fritz, we had Ben Shelton, we had Tommy Paul, Francis Tiafoe, Sebastian Corda. We had a lot of other good competitors in there. Leonard Tien as well, I should not forget from the Americans. We had
Manarino.
Manarino is not American, unfortunately. He would actually be from France, I
Oh,
believe. So anyway, we
he
also
was in
had
the
some other.
tournament. He
I
was in
know.
the tournament. He's
If
your
you
boy.
let me get there, that's what you get. When you cut me off, I'm gonna act like a snob. Yes, I'm yapping, but you gotta let me get to the point I need to get to, Edic. It's all part of the plan. We also had Adrian Manarino, we had Marine Cilic in the tournament. We had a lot of other big names outside of America as well. Miomir Kekmanovic actually made a deep run in this tournament, and a lot of other solid top 50 talent. The finals, much like the other tournaments, saw the top two seeds, Taylor Fritz and Ben Shelton. Um, and Taylor Fritz, in maybe not classic fashion, choked. Although Ben Shelton is quite clutch. Taylor Fritz won the first set, saw break points in a couple games in the second. Shelton saved those, made it to the third set, and went up a break 3-1. Fritz grabbed that break back and then got three match points of his own at 4-5. Ben Shelton saved all three of those, broke him right back at 5-5, and won the match 7-5. Fritz was quite frustrated. That now brings Ben Shelton up to number 9 in the world rankings and drops Taylor Fritz down to number 8. Um, do you feel like A, did Taylor Fritz choke? B, do you think Ben Shelton is the best American right now? And there is no C actually, so we'll just go with A and B.
Yes, Ben Shelton is the best American tennis player right now. And no, I don't think that Fritz choked. It was more of a combination of maybe him just taking his foot off the gas pedal and Ben taking his opportunity. Listen, Ben has a shot to win a Grand Slam. I mean, we talked about this a
I
little
agree.
in person with you. It's so interesting to talk about like the dichotomy between if he didn't have such a big serve, he'd probably be like 75 in the world or 100 in the world. I think that's fair. Like his ground strokes are not that great, especially the backhand side, but that serve is a weapon. So he's our best shot to win a Grand Slam. Fritz, he's a good guy again, strong competitor. Obviously, he's got Michael Russell in his corner, so he works hard, but he's had a tough year. I know he's kind of been injury ridden. But I think it's time for Shelton really to take the mantle from Tommy, from Francis, from Taylor to announce himself and say, "Hey, I'm the guy. I'm the man to do this and put us over the edge." So yeah.
I should also have mentioned Denis Shapovalov, another player that stays in the top 25 or so, top 50 at least, was actually having a phenomenal week. A massive talent for anyone that has watched tennis. He beat Rafa Nadal at a pretty young age. He's a lefty with a huge game. One could argue maybe even more talent than Ben Shelton if he put it all together. And when he plays Ben, it's just the classic clutch versus unclutch, I feel. Shapovalov was actually up a set in love 40 in that match in the second set, and he couldn't get the break, and then Ben Shelton just took him out in three. But Shapovalov was playing great tennis. Do you think that he could take home a 500 title or higher this year? And do you ever see Dennis getting over the mental hurdle?
I'm sorry, who's that?
Don't play that game today. He's implying that he's irrelevant, but I think that people want to know.
Dennis is just his shot selection. He has every shot in the book, but his shot selection is not great. He double fault. I mean, he was the number one double faulter last year, right?
Along with Coco Gauff, yes.
Right. So, he actually, believe it or not, would be someone who's a threat to win the Grand Slam, in my opinion,
I
because he
agree.
has so many weapons. And
I
if
agree.
clicks, it's like almost Stan Wawrinka, where like he can hit you off the court, but he can't put it all together, other than the time when he beat Nadal. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think he can always upset anybody, but he can also always lose to anybody.
I agree with that. And then another guy that's had that sort of up and down, but on a much lower level. I already know where you're going to go with it, but I gotta ask anyway. Taylor Fritz makes the final, but he did suffer an elbow injury in an early round against Sebastian Korda in the quarters of the round of 16. He lost that first set. He called for the trainer mid-game against Korda, said that he felt a pull right above his elbow, got treatment, came out looking uncomfortable and really wasn't feeling seemingly ready to finish the match, something that might have been hindering him even in this final against Ben. Um, but it just didn't matter. Korda had love 30 twice in the second set, couldn't even garner a break point in either of those games, gets broken at 4-5, goes into the third set, holds it all the way down to a tiebreaker. He's up 5-4 with an open court, or he's actually up 5-2 in that tiebreaker, in fact. But Fritz with a big serve a couple times has an open court forehand at 5-4. hits it to another zip code. At 5-5, neutral ball, hits it to another country once again. Shanks the return at 5-6. Is Sebastian Corda the most mentally quote unquote cooked player in the ATP Top 100? And what do you think his ceiling would be if he had what you consider to be a good mental game? I will also note that he is the aforementioned player from earlier in the pod that I said Edic would call a mental midget.
I'm sorry, are you talking about Nelly Corda's brother?
Yes, I am talking about women's professional golf. Maybe number one now, definitely one of the best player on tours, Nelly Corda's brother,
Are
Sebastian Corda.
you talking about the scrub that lost to college player Michael Zhang?
I am talking about the guy that lost to Michael Zhang in the first round of the Australian Open, although he did redeem himself with a straight set victory in Dallas. Not to say that that's the one of those two matches he would have preferred to win.
Are you talking about the son of Grand Slam champion Corda?
Yes, Sebastian Corda comes from an incredibly successful sports family.
Need I say more?
Do you think he's the weakest player in the top 100
No,
mentally?
it's my boy Davidovich Fokina because he can't get over the line and win a freaking tournament for his life.
Damn, he didn't say Alexander Zverev. Zverev, you dodged a bullet for this week.
Nah, no,
Um,
let's leave him alone. He'll come back another episode. But it's my poor fellow good friend Alejandro Davidovich Fokina who just cannot get over the line and win a tournament.
he's had so many chances in
Too
finals.
many chances.
Match points in those finals a couple times as well, serving for it, whatever.
Too many
Uh,
chances.
that's something we'll discuss. But yeah, Sebastian Korda, man, just absolutely brutal mental game. A match with an injured opponent where he really had a chance to kind of make a statement and he just couldn't do it. And you could see him really give up mentally and get tight in real time. It was brutal. You saw it with Shapa, you saw it with him, and then on the other hand, Ben Shelton, who once again, our fan that saw me today said that he felt like Ben Shelton has, and I quote, plot armor, because he just always manages to find a way, in those key moments. And I would agree that Ben Shelton just always finds a way, much like Carlos Alcaraz. Um,
Do you think that Ben Shelton made Trinity Rodman famous?
we're gonna leave that for a future guest because, to be honest, I have no idea, but I'm gonna go with no. But I
Oh, so
definitely
you're saying Trinity Rodman isn't famous?
I think that when any two celebrities date and make their relationship official, they both pull from the other person's fan base of people that may not have watched their sport or followed that type of or like followed their area before. So I think inherently any two people are going to make each other more famous than they were before just by introducing them to a new audience. With that being said, are you ready to do some dropper lob and then get off of one of our longer episodes of the Drop Lob Pod?
Yeah, but just real quick, for the record, Travis Kelce made Taylor Swift famous.
100% agree. No sarcasm detected at all.
Thank you.
Clearly,
Thank you.
Travis. I mean, he runs a successful podcast.
I know.
What has she done?
What has she
And this
done?
this is specifically directed to our good podcast friend Charlie Pittman's girlfriend. What has
Right.
Taylor Swift done? I'd love to hear from you in the comments section.
Thank
And
you.
after we hear from her, we're gonna go and drop her lob right now. And we're gonna
Do
start
it.
drop her lob
Let's
by
do it.
asking you, drop or lob. Has American tennis taken a step back in the last year?
Men's or women's?
Both.
Drop for the women's. They haven't taken a step back. They have made finals. Pagula's made finals. Anisimova has made finals. Coco won the French Open. Blob for the men. Fritz was making finals before. Now he isn't. Tiafoe was on the come up. Now he isn't. Paul was in the top 10. Now he isn't. You're relying on Shelton. There you go.
Fair answer. Fair answer. Drop or lob? Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz are going to maintain their dominance in this upcoming week, despite taking the last month off since the Australian Open.
Lob, and I think Sinner will probably do better. Sinner bounces back really well after he lost the French Open. He won Wimbledon. After he lost the US Open, he won the Nitto ATP Finals. After he lost Australian Open, let's see how he does here. He might even win the Sunshine Double. Don't be surprised. You heard it here first.
That's winning in Miami and Indian Wells, by the way, both
And
Masters
and by the
1000s.
way, your boy is going to be in Miami for the Miami Open. I will be there.
That I will actually also be there, so that's going to be a post-pod discussion. Do you want to let the people know what dates you're going to be there?
I'm gonna be there March 17th to 22nd. I'll be in Key Biscayne. Obviously, I'll be at the Miami Open. If you guys want to hang out, let me know. I'll be there.
You've heard it here first at the Drop Lob Pod. I will also second on that with a non-dropper lob, but just a general question. Carlos Alcaraz, as a betting guy, he's opening as a six-game favorite to Arthur Rinderknecht in the first round of the ATP Dubai quals, right? Or ATP Dubai main draw. Obviously, Carlos Alcaraz, number one in the world, is not in qualifiers. Do you think that's egregious? Like, do you think he's getting overrated at this point, or do you think that's fair? Because I think that him winning by at least 6-3 or 6-2 against a big server like Rinderknecht,
So
especially in a non-major, it's just a lot.
that's a bad bet because Arthur is a big server and he does well against good players. Usually takes him to at least a tiebreaker. Um, that's just a bad
Yeah.
bet.
It's just like in general, do you think that Alcaraz is overrated given that's the respect he's given? And I say that from a pure statistical standpoint. Obviously, what he's doing right now is hard to empirically like put into words how great he's been. But
No, I don't think he's overrated. I think he's rated how he should be right now.
okay.
I don't think he's
Drop or lob on the addition of these tournaments in the Middle East is a bad look for tennis.
Can you give me a little like bad look?
So the crowds are definitely not full at these tournaments. You can see that there are a lot of open seats in the stands. The stadiums are very nice, and obviously, in general, tennis tournaments during the year are really never completely filling up, just because the time of year and like the time of day, even sometimes like they play in the middle of work weeks, in the middle of work days. It's part of the struggle. But obviously, you want to see full stadiums. There are certain countries, like, for example, when they play in maybe the Netherlands, when they play in France, some countries that are huge tennis countries, you see stadiums packed for almost every match, especially for the countrymen. Once again, obviously, a lot of these countries like Qatar and UAE, they get a couple local qualifiers in, but they don't really have like those strong tennis players to back behind as a country, maybe to get more into it, and you just don't see the stands completely full. Obviously, the money that comes from these countries has kind of allowed them to get a step, like a foot in the door for pretty much all major sports, for soccer, for basketball, maybe a little bit, for pretty much golf, especially. But do you think it's a good look for the tour to inject more money by doing it, or do you think it's a bad look that they've kind of caved into giving these tournaments
Yeah, listen, I
such
mean,
big importance?
obviously, I understand your point now, and thank you for explaining.
And I will need a drop or lob on that.
Is it so? What's your drop or lob?
Drop or lob, these tournaments are enhancing the quality of the tour, or it's worth having them over the tournaments that were previously in place.
Lob, because I think it's good that the Middle East is pumping money into tennis. They're doing the same thing with the UFC and WWE and boxing.
And golf.
If the fans aren't there, the fans aren't there. But I think, and golf, yeah. Who cares about golf?
I mean, you
And
were just
you
talking
know,
about Nelly Corda
they're
about like
giving the
3 minutes
players an
ago.
opportunity. Women's golf is cool. I don't care about men's golf. Um, so basically what I'm
Oh,
trying
this
to
is a
say is if
troll.
they give the players an opportunity, if they give the players an opportunity to have a really nice tournament, I'm all for that. And I know a lot about men's golf. Don't you worry about that. You know, my boy Connor is talking a lot, and we were watching the YouTube of Carlos Alcaraz playing with the golfer. Um, I don't remember his name. I'm sorry, but
Yeah, great golf
we were
knowledge,
watching
everybody.
that.
But Carlos Alcaraz did actually play golf with Roger Federer when he was at the Australian Open, which is pretty cool to note.
Yeah,
And
but
he
who
did.
was that golfer that he played with?
I actually was not looking through Carlos Alcaraz's Instagram. I will drop as well real quick. The Casper Ruud is probably the biggest golfer on the men's tour. Congrats to him as well for having his first kid. And for our last drop or lob, drop or lob having a guest on the podcast next week, specifically Coach Deshaun from the USTA.
Yeah, shout out to Sean. We're gonna have him on. Absolute legend, the most interesting man in the world.
He
Uh,
is.
so we look forward to having him on.
You guys are gonna love the episode. Once again, we are gonna. I know we've said a couple times we're gonna be back.
Bryson DeChambeau.
Dear God. Attention deficit disorder is a real issue. It affects tens of millions of Americans every year. If you think you might have it, please go to your doctor and see if you need to be medicated. It's been great to be on this episode of the Drop Log Pod with my co-host Edic. I mentioned his name because he forgets. I've been Nathan. It's been a great episode, and we look forward to seeing you guys back next week on Sunday.